Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to a Sunday edition of the American Hotspur here on Stateside Footy. I, of course, am your host, Steve Silver, and joining me today is the king of breaking news. He does a wonderful job on his channel, THFC Tottenham Till We Die, and of course, it's the legendary Dermotron. Good evening, Derma. How are you doing today?
Yeah, big up, Steve. I'm no legend. You're the legend, man. But thank you very much for having me on again. I do enjoy this, and yes,
Yeah.
look, it's all about talking Tottenham, and we do. Even as bad as we are, we still love talking about Tottenham. Always have, always will.
Oh, absolutely. And for those that are for those that are now tuning in, we are 24 hours after the debacle in the London Derby versus West Ham. And of course, from that moment of the final whistle, we heard Dermot, we heard our own home fans singing, "You're going to be sacked in the morning." We heard the boos at halftime. We saw fans leaving at halftime, for Christ's sake, to the point where I think that Spurs fans universally have given up on Thomas Frank as head coach. And so we are going to get into that in just a second because we do have some news regarding it. Before I get into all of that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and also hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out on the upcoming Stateside Footy content. We are close to 400. I think we're just a few subs away from 400. And by the end of the year, I'd like to be pushing 600-700, those type of numbers. So please do me the honor and hit those like and subscribe buttons so we can kick this channel to heights that I'd like to see personally. So, all right, let's get on with it, Derma. All right, so with that intro, it is becoming abundantly clear that the board had seriously considered the removal of Thomas Frank as head coach. And last night, from what I was hearing, that the search is actually for an interim manager, somebody that the board feels comfortable with. And of course, the board has ambition from what they say, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Somebody that actually kind of matches that ambition, somebody that they can absolutely trust. Because we have just a few more Champions League matches before we have the rest of the Premier League season. And I think the idea is they want somebody that can actually get this team moving in the right direction, kicking up the table, so they can potentially hand it off to somebody in the summer. But Derma, what have you been hearing about this situation?
Well, last night, Steve, the same as you, I got some news that there was a meeting last night. I was told it was unconfirmed, but there was a meeting straight after the game, after the meeting, the winning. Now, this morning, this is the latest I was told this morning, that as it stands, Thomas Frank is expected to remain in the dugout for the midweek clash versus Dortmund, which for me, I think is slightly understandable because of the closeness of the game. I think sacking a manager and putting in somebody in charge now, I think it was too quick of a turnaround. I think if they're going to do it, my gut and what I'm hearing, they might be done Wednesday morning or Tuesday night. You may get news. Thomas Frank, they may have said to Thomas, "Look, can you cover the Dortmund game for us? Gives us time to get it done." Now,
Right.
any manager, if that was you and me, Steve, we would have said, "Stuff you. You don't want me here. I'm not going to help you out." But maybe they may have said, we'll give you an extra million or whatever on your payout for doing it. But there is an acceptance that that could be his final game in charge, but no official confirmation or decision has been communicated by the club at this stage. Pochettino is understood to be open and ready to return to Tottenham Hotspur, but Pochettino has the World Cup to sort out with the United States, and he's not going to walk away from that. So I agree with you in the interim. For me, Steve, I would have liked a Harry Redknapp and a Robbie Keane. Have Robbie Keane in there as interim manager, have Harry Redknapp in there as his backup, a bit like guiding him through. And then if Robbie Keane does do well, then think about giving him the job full time. Because if I'm being honest, Steve, as much as I appreciate Pochettino and everything done for the club and the heights he took us, I don't want him coming back and tarnishing that reputation and that memories we have of him. And maybe we're a little bit too guided by maybe we're guided by memories that he can recreate what he created before, and maybe going back doesn't always work. And the last thing
Potentially.
on that, potentially, yeah. And the last thing I was told, this is the one to watch closely over the next 72 hours. So next
Inter-
72 hours could be one way or the other.
okay. Well, I will say that one of the biggest issues that fans had was that how come it wasn't just right after the match yesterday.
Yeah,
And by the
exactly.
way, the interesting thing is a lot of people would come out and say that if Daniel Levy was still in charge, that probably would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never know about that. But one of the interesting things is that there is a buyout clause in Thomas Frank's contract. And if he is to be sacked, he is going to get something close to 20 million pounds as a buyout. And I think that is the biggest reason why this board is flinching, because that, for somebody that's only been in the job for 6 months and to get the sack this quick, it's something what I like to call sticker shock. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like, is the board prepared to do this? Now, it's interesting, right? Because you do have Johan Lang, who was the driving force behind them, but then you have Ben Contesham, but then you also have Vivian Lewis as well too. And really, the Lewis family is probably the overriding factor in this equation. I would assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. There was, I don't know if you saw the clip this morning going around the social media, Steve, about not Vinay, but Vivian Lewis and Steve Perriman in the, I don't know if it's director's area or the posh area of the ground.
I did see it. Steve
Perriman asking saying to the fan, "Do you want a selfie?" And him go no, and going to Vivian, sell the club. That's wrong. I understand everyone's angry, but the look on Steve Perriman's face, who's a Tottenham legend, he looked really uncomfortable in that situation. And also, I don't think it's fair to go up to a lady and do that as well. I think that's wholly unacceptable. I understand people's frustrations are high. We had a protest yesterday. 200 people turned up to that protest, Steve, and fair play to Change for Tottenham and Billy and the gang over there.
Yep.
I think they're doing it the right way, but I don't think going up to somebody like that person did and doing the way he did it, I don't think that's right. And for me, that's wholly unacceptable doing that. I understand people are angry, but
sure,
there's ways and means of doing about it, isn't there? Or am I wrong in thinking that?
No, there is. There is. And here's the thing: I will never clap back at fans, and especially in that situation post game where it's emotions are running high. And this, I was on your show yesterday afternoon after the whistle, and I was upset, man. I was steaming mad. But that being said, I can understand it from that situation, but you're absolutely right. There is a time and there is definitely a place for that. So I want to get into this real quick because Vinay Contestion did make a statement. And I believe this was the day before West Ham. And he goes on to say, is like, as we've reached the halfway point, I wanted to share an update on our plans for the future. The joint ambition of our executive team, the board, and the Lewis family is clear: to see the men's team competing regularly in the Champions League and for major trophies, while significantly raising the competition level of our women's team. Our focus is supporting success, and in that we share the same ambition as our supporters. We know that words carry very little weight without action, which is why recent months have been spent undertaking a thorough review of our operations. Opportunities for a genuine reset are rare in clubs of our size, and we have been determined not to waste this moment as we make the changes needed behind the scenes to compete consistently at the highest level. Football has changed significantly in recent years, and while the club has evolved and achieved incredible things, we recognize that in some key areas we have not always kept pace. We all feel the gap between where we are and where we want to be. While we know that progress takes time, we share your impatience to close it. Our supporters want wins and performances to be proud of, And we know that the men's first team has fallen short of where we want it to be so far this season. Significant work is underway. When you hear that, what is your reaction to this?
Look, the first reaction is, isn't it very funny? It came out as the same day the protests were happening.
Correct.
Why did he not come out with this at the last home game or at the beginning of the new year? Have that as your New Year message to the fans. I think it's straight out the Enid playbook, if I'm being honest. Now, saying that, I did read it, and I read it quite thoroughly. I like what he has to say. I have to say, I like it. It's different to what Daniel Levy would have come out with. I want to see action, Steve. It's all right having all these words and saying, we're going to do this at the club, we're going to do that at the club. I want to see action. We're now day 18 into a transfer window, which is only open until the 2nd of February. And we've got one signing in. Well, two signings in. One lad that's played only half games, played 26 games, and half of them he was injured. The second one is a very good signing, I think, in Conor Gallagher, who will add something to the midfield. But I want to see more. And this is now a decision where, with Thomas Frank, he has to come out and say, I'm going to do the best for the fans, by the fans in the club. And he's not. Vinay stood by Arteta for how long at Arsenal? Even it got really toxic over there. So what I read for Vinay, he's very good communicator. He's very good at writing stuff. He's very good at getting his message across. But for me, it's all PR. It's all
Correct.
Look at us. Look what we're going to do. Don't bother going to the protests. Trust us. Well, I'm sorry. 4 years or 25 years. You've had your boat. Now it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is. I never trusted this ENIC 2.0, Steve. I never have, and I never will.
You don't like the rebrand?
It's the same old thing, isn't it? It's just, look, yeah. I'm a massive Marvel fan. I know you love your Marvel as well, so you know by getting this. When you cut a head off, if you cut a snake off to come up in its place, you can have it in modern day politics as well, or in the Marvel. It's the same thing scenario. Yeah, we may have cut Daniel Levy's head off, right? Or the snake off. But two have come up in its place in Charlie and Vivian Lewis. Now, have they done anything different at the club? No. Have they given the concessions back to the older fans or for the children? I don't think so yet. Have they already come out? We're going to freeze ticket prices and freeze the prices of season tickets? No, they haven't. Have they come out? Have they dropped 300-400 million into the club? No, they haven't. So for me, it's PR. But I want to be proven wrong, Steve. It's a bit like Thomas Frank at the time. I'm now fully Frank out, but at the time, I wanted him to prove me wrong. I want the owners to prove me wrong. It's not a lot to ask for. I think for you, me as fans, and especially we're international fans as well, it's not cheap for us to get the games or go over to Tottenham. It isn't for you, and it's not expensive for me. And I want them to treat us as one fan base, not keep us separated. And if you are going to have a Beyonce or the boxing or F1, I want that money put back into the football club, not into your hip pocket. So there's a lot I think they can come out and say to reassure fans we're different from the previous ownership that was here.
I was struck a little bit by this because never once did he mention the head coach. I found that very interesting. That because we were hearing about a week ago prior to this coming out that the board has shown trust in Thomas Frank. The board is 100% behind this project, and then he releases the statement, and he doesn't mention Thomas Frank. He doesn't mention the head coaching position. He just talks about our focus is on sporting. The opportunities for a genuine reset are rare in clubs of our size, and we have been determined not to waste this moment as we make changes needed behind the scene to compete consistently at the highest level. And for me, it almost feels like Vinny is painting himself into a corner
Yeah,
with those
yeah,
statements because, on the one hand, we hear that everything is peachy keen, everything is kumbaya behind the scenes, but then you release a statement by saying this specifically. It's an opportunity for a reset. And so I guess my natural question to you is like, when you hear it, like it almost feels like Vinny almost has to pull the trigger.
yeah, it does.
Because if he doesn't, he loses credibility, yeah.
I think he's already lost credibility already. I think he really has, Steve. I think if he was going to do it, he should have done it a couple of games ago. I think he's lost it, and I think there is disarray behind the scenes because if you think about it, Levy ran everything. He was like one of them dictators that runs the country, but his finger is in every pie in that country. Once that dictator goes, the country goes to hell. And I think Tottenham was ran like a dictatorship. And once they removed Daniel Levy, they're thinking, hang on a minute, we need people to run these different departments. And I think they haven't thought it through. I think there's a lot of infighting as well with Enoch trying to devalue Levy's shares in case of a sell. I do concur, and I do agree with Simon Jordan when he says Tottenham are up for sale in all but name, and I do believe that. I just think Tottenham, as Rain was saying to me, that Tottenham are a rudderless ship without a captain, and we're like the Titanic, and we're going towards the iceberg, but nobody's doing anything to turn the ship away from that iceberg. And that iceberg means relegation. And we at the moment are staring down the barrel. We are in a relegation fight. I don't care what anyone says. We're in a relegation fight.
I can't see the Lewis family allowing that to happen, right? Because the one thing that sinks the valuation of your club, and right now some have it at like what 3.5 billion, some have it high as 5. The thing that sinks it is relegation, and I can't imagine that the Lewis family will ever let it reach that point. But the other thing to consider here is the fact that you mentioned these protests. That also has an impact on decision making as well too. It's not to the point where they're just going to listen to fans. That's not what I'm suggesting. But the reality is when you see fans leaving at halftime because they understand how it's going to play out. When you see your home fans saying you're going to get sacked in the morning, you hear the boos, not just at home, but you hear it on the road as well too. And now change for Tottenham is gaining momentum to the point where we're starting to see games not being sold out anymore. Tickets are still available for Champions League at home as well too. And like those were the things that made White Hart Lane so great, underneath the European lights at the lane. And these are some of the things that fans absolutely cherish. But now all of a sudden, it's starting to affect the bottom line. And I always go back to that thing. It's like there's no way that the Lewis family is going to allow their bottom line to be affected. Like they'll put up with it for a little bit, but ultimately they're going to end up drawing a line in the sand. That's kind of where I'm at on this one.
Look, I understand what you're saying. The Lewis family won't let it get to that, but the Lewis family have let it get for it, or Enoch have let it get to that because of
I would say
not
it's pretty
backing
close.
any manager. I mean,
yeah.
I would say the only manager they did back and they didn't really back was Pochettino. Now you look after Pochettino. Every manager's only lasted 2 years. I think Ange lasted a week longer, so he's the third longest manager I think Tottenham have had since Harry Redknapp, Pochettino, and Ange. But you look at the managers we had in Mourinho, the greatest manager of our generation, right? Jose Mourinho. You got Conte, a winner. So there's 2 winners there. We didn't back them. We bought Nuno for the Nuno only stayed 6 months, and he was out the door. So he didn't get much of a chance. Then you got Conte in. Conte told us, and I watched that press conference again the other day, Steve.
I did
where he
too.
says the players don't like pressure. They don't like being under pressure, and he was right. And we saw that yesterday.
Yep.
That squad does not like being under pressure. The problem at Tottenham is we can have all the coaches in the world and you can buy all the players in the world, right? The problem at that football club is it's gone so far away from what Tottenham was. There's a culture of it's okay.
Yep.
You look at
100%.
Liverpool, you look at Manchester United. Well, Man United probably have drifted away from the Fergie sort of regime, but you know what I mean. You look
Yeah.
at Liverpool on the clock, right? You look how we were under Ange and some of the videos when he's out there talking to the players after the game or before the game and the way he's drilling it into them. Mourinho said it. We're too soft.
Yep.
We're not hard enough. And you saw it yesterday. We don't care. The players don't care. I think Van der Ven cares because of his reaction after the game, Steve. I don't think Romero cares a lot. I know people are going to shoot me for this, but I don't think he gives a shit. I think Vicario will blame everyone else by himself. I think the likes of Jed Spence couldn't give a shit. He was shouted at yesterday for not even being ready, and he was coming on for
Right.
Ben Davis.
Right. Matisse
Yeah.
Tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel sorry for Tell. I felt sorry for Tell yesterday. He should not have been taken off. But look, that's another
100%.
discussion.
100%.
I think. Do you remember the Mora decision that?
Yes. Yeah. Of
I
course.
described that as Frank's Mora Nuno decision yesterday.
Yep.
Taking Tell off. That's how I see that. I think Palunia cares. I think a good 5 or 6 players within the whole squad care. And I think
I think I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a subset of players that absolutely care, and I think Van de Ven might be one of them. I would agree with that. I would agree with that as well too. But that's the other thing that's worth considering as well too, because when a manager is under pressure, and when a manager is feeling like this is going to be a make or break, he ends up making decisions that ended up. You talk about the Lucas Moore situation, right? When he gets subbed off, it's you see these type of decisions that run counter to the things that he ends up saying in his post game, where he said he wanted 2 strikers on, but very rarely have we seen that actually work when he's in that situation where he brings 2 strikers on. And I will say that Matisse Tell has probably been, as far as his forward line is concerned, he's probably been one of the best when it comes to form, all things considered. But that's the other thing. I think it's that's a good talking point here is that eventually. Now, I have no idea if the board are going to interfere, but that being said, there is a history of certain players going to certain board members behind the manager's back, and that to me is kind of me personally. I don't like it. But that being said, if there is a situation where a manager is maybe impossible to deal with, or maybe he's not listening, or he doesn't necessarily have the temperature of his own club, certain things like that will happen. And you wonder what the temperature of this club is at the moment under Thomas Frank, whether or not there is a respect factor. Because here's the thing: we've already started hearing leaks behind the scene of Mickey Van de Ven not wanting to talk about a contract extension and possibly leaving. We've heard the same thing with Richarlison. We've heard Matisse Tell wanting to get out because obviously he wants to play and there's a World Cup coming on. These things don't happen unless players are talking to their agents. And from that point, the agent's going to be the one that's going to leak things behind the manager's back. And it just kind of gives you a snippet of what the temperature like is in that changing room and whether or not Thomas Frank is in that situation where maybe, just maybe, he doesn't have the respect of the lads in his changing room.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you could go back to probably Nuno when Ben Davis went to Daniel Levy.
Yep.
Now, I'm like you. If I have to say anything I'd say, like, as a player, you should be big enough to go to a manager. This is what I think. Romero has been putting it out on Twitter, calling out the board, calling out the manager. But when he gets pulled up, he then goes on and retracts a little bit. Now, I would have more respect for Romero if he kept what he said in his tweet and said, "No, you can fine me a month's wages. I ain't moving it. I am not."
Right.
That's how I feel. That is what I'm going to do. I feel player power is too much, Steve. I feel players have too much power now. I feel that certain individuals at any football club can dictate what happens at that football club. And you look at Nuno with Ben Davies. I think some of the players threw Pochettino under the bus. I think a few
Sure.
players threw Jose under. It was always the same individuals that was doing it. These players have not been playing for Thomas Frank, I think, for the last month and a half. This squad cannot be so bad, this bad, that if you look at that West Ham second goal, we weren't even really defending.
Correct.
I just don't get it, Steve. And in the first half of yesterday and the first half of Villa, you cannot tell me we cannot sit there.
And the first half of Sunderland too.
Yeah, you cannot tell me, you, me there, and we're sitting there, we're doing watch-alongs on our channels for that game. You, me cannot sit there and think they're giving the bus and the gut out there. They're not.
No.
They don't care. And they're throwing them under the bus. And I like Thomas Frank. As a man, I like him. I think his philosophy is good at a Burnley or a Sunderland or somewhere down the bottom where your job's to keep you in the Premier League. I think he's suited. He's not suited for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
I would 100% agree with that sentiment, and I'll tell you where he lost me. I can 100% tell you that it was Chelsea at home in really the first big London derby at home, and it's an opportunity for you just to have a go, just to have a good fashioned, just chase it. You know what I mean? Just chase the game. Yeah. Everybody just having a good time. And if you lose, you lose. But it was an opportunity to, in my estimation, is to really kind of galvanize the fan base behind them and to really give an idea of what this thing will look like without the handbrake completely, without his hands completely trying to control everything. And he didn't do it. As a matter of fact, for the most part, he sat 10 behind the ball the entire match. And then in an opportunity, in another opportunity at our biggest rivals, he did it again. But it was in that Chelsea match where he was so conservative and so pragmatic that he was worried about what his opponent was going to do and not necessarily what his game plan was to actually win that game. And that told me everything. That in the biggest moments, in the biggest moments, in the biggest games, that he ducks back into his turtle shell. And you can't do that. Like that. There's an old saying is you can't hide on the football pitch. You absolutely can't, because you will be exposed. And that's when that's when he got exposed. And from that standpoint, it was, it's not surprised that most of our results have gone along those same lines. That he is given far too much respect to his opponents and not enough respect to the players that are going to deliver him results. That's where he lost me against Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree. I want to ask you a question, Steve. Do you think, with the way we were under Ange, and we've gone the totally opposite to now we're under Frank, this is going to be probably a controversial question. We're going to ask it anyway. You know me. I like asking ruffling a few feathers in the chat. Do you miss Ange Postecoglou? No, forget about the football, right? I know 22 league defeats. Forget about the way he was with the press, protecting the players. The way he wasn't, he when it came to big games, he didn't praise the opposition as much as Frank does. Do you wish we had a manager that was a bit like Frank and a bit like Ange Postecoglou put together? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. To answer your question, do I miss Ange Postecoglou? Yes. And you know how much I respect Ange Postecoglou because I know how hard it is to win trophies at any level. Things have to break right, and injury, like you have to avoid the big injuries. And the fact that he did it pretty much every single step as he climbed the ladder, he won something. And then, of course, he won a trophy with his national team, which Australia never wins a damn thing. internationally. He was able to get one of those trophies as well too. But here's what I will say: at least, Ange had an attacking identity. You knew exactly what you were going to see on the pitch week in and week out, and maybe that was to Ange's detriment. But you knew exactly. You knew exactly. What's funny is they always called Jurgen Klopp heavy metal football. But here's the thing: the philosophy of Jurgen Klopp when he took that Liverpool job was hand in hand with the respect of what Bill Shankly did back in the day.
Yeah.
And when you think about Ange Postecoglou, and yes, it was, I consider that heavy metal football as well too, like that swashbuckling heavy metal football. But the philosophy paid homage to Arthur Rowe and Bill Nick. Same thing with Maurizio Pochettino. It's like this type of attacking prowess philosophy, philosophically still pays homage to those that were before him, right? You talk about building off the shoulders of those who those that came before you, and at least from that standpoint, like there's a million things that we can criticize about Ange Postecoglou, and he actually had a little bit of an ego as well too, and it took Mickey Van de Ven and a couple of guys to come and say, "Listen, this is like our last opportunity to win a trophy. We have to change," and he said, "Fine, you're responsible." And he put the onus on the players, and the players were able to deliver. And it was in that you showed that we were actually proven wrong, and that the players were 100% behind him.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is that, number one, Thomas Frank, and I'm sure you've heard this as well too, the players have actually come to Thomas Frank and said, "Hey, listen, we have to change something because it's just not working." And Thomas Frank said, "Yeah, that's cute. We're not doing that. It's either you're doing this or you're not doing anything at all." And me personally, it's like, as a coach, and I've met plenty of coaches, and it's like there is a level where you actually do have to listen to some of your players. Like if you're a good coach, you're going to take that information in. And if you're a decent person, you're going to say, "Hey, well, maybe they might have a, maybe they might have a point. So maybe we're going to tweak a few things here and there, and then we might be able to kick on." Because if it doesn't kick on, then at least and it is what it is, right? But for that, from that standpoint, it's like at least we knew what we were under Ange, for better or for worse. That is something that, me personally, this is what I hate right now, is the fact that we don't have an attacking identity. It's January the 18th. And he's been here since what? August? July?
Yeah.
And he's had a full preseason to implement his philosophy. He's had he's had the first half of the season to fine tune it. And I don't here's the thing, right? Injuries matter. 100%. Injuries absolutely matter. And we were without Dominic Solanke for a long time. We're still without Dejan Kulusevski. Matters was out for the season, so it wasn't going to matter. But we still brought in Polina. We still brought in Xavi. We still brought in Kudus. And now we brought in Conor Gallagher. It wasn't like Ange Postecoglou, where it was replaced with Lucas Bergvall and Yang Min Huck and Archie Gray and unproven commodities. He was given proven commodities.
Yeah.
And what we saw heavy rotation throughout the first half of the season. So we never actually got continuity through that entire first half of the season. So players were not able to develop chemistry, because every 3 days there was a new combination in the midfield, or there was a new combination in the attacking three. And because of it, players weren't able to stabilize. And this is the biggest indictment, is the fact that he came in with the reputation of being able to make players better. And when you're at Brentford and there's no pressure, you might be able to achieve that. But at Tottenham Hotspur, and especially coming in without the CV of being in the Champions League or going on deep cup runs or competing in the top four to six in the Premier League, your first job is results.
Hmm.
That's it. In order to gain trust, in order to get that credibility, you have to be able to get results.
You know, football is a results business at the end of the day. I mean, you don't get results, then I'm sorry, you're out of a job. I think there's only 2 games. I think look, you look at the PSG game where he changed it up, and that was I think that was probably his best game as coach at Tottenham, I would say. I think the rest of them have been against teams that we should have beaten. Burnley, we should be beaten. Bournemouth, we should have beaten. Wolves, we should have been beaten, but we didn't. And I just think I just think Thomas Frank needs to go, and he needs to go now. If he had any credibility, he should have resigned last night. He should have said to the board, right, I'm going to offer my resignation. I'm going to resign because the performance hasn't been good enough. And we'll take it from there. But he didn't. Because what's he do? He's waiting for a payout. He's waiting for the club to say, right, you're sacked, so I can get my 8 million, whatever it is, payout.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I think sometimes managers should show more accountability for their failures. Now, yes, it is the players. The players are not good enough. We know that. And I've always saying it's cheaper to get rid of a manager than it is to get rid of players. And there's some players you cannot move on anyway. But Thomas Frank should have fell on his sword last night and said, I'm resigning. He didn't. And we're going into Tuesday, Steve, with I found a list of players, right? So these are the players that are not ready for Tuesday. Mickey van der Ven suspended. Dragerson, Gallagher, Basuma, and Solanke are all ineligible. Ben Davis is injured. Palunia is injured. Bentancur's injured. James Madison's injured. Mohamed Kudus is injured. Kulu's injured. Richie is injured. Papa Sarr, will he be back by AFCON by then? Probably not.
Probably not.
You telling me that he's got all these players that are injured, but all the players that are ineligible as well, and Mickey suspended? Do you know?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding against Dortmund. That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, and we know Dortmund are probably going to beat us. I hate saying that we're going to lose, but I think we are.
Yeah,
and I think that has to be it. By Burnley, there has to either be an interim or a new manager in by Burnley. I'm sorry.
It almost feels. You know what? Some people will say that, and what's interesting is because of the roster limitations, it's almost setting setting him up to fail because he knows we're probably not going to beat Dortmund. But that being said, I will say it's like when I look at this roster and I see full internationals that play significant roles for their national teams, I think to myself, they're not lacking quality. Me personally, I've always believed this, that there are certain managers that have the ability to get the best out of players because of, they draw a line in the sand and there's expectation levels of performance. And if you don't meet those standards, you're not going to be a part of this. You're not going to be a part of the program. And what's interesting, like I think the best example was Pochettino without Adebayor. If you remember that, he was like, you're like, it's, if you're not going to show up, and if you're not going to perform, you're not going to play. And he got rid of him. And that's the thing. It's like, I always believe that if the expectation levels are high, it challenges players to get the very best out of them. And that's the thing that I don't trust with Thomas Frank, is that I don't think he sets the expectation levels high, because we have seen multiple games where players have had absolute gaffes, just absolute bonehead mistakes, and they're rewarded with starts the very next game. Like there should have been a few times where Vicario should have been benched for just god awful play. And it's like everybody just assumes that Kinski is not good enough. But that being said, it's like, well, you're not going to know unless you play him. And if you're not going to hold players accountable, and everybody just assumes that, I'm just going to be starting the next match because Kinski's my backup or whatever the case may be, then your coaches, you're going to lose respect from your players. Because if it's that easy to walk on you, then it is what it is. It's like, and that's and to me, I think that's like the biggest fault of Thomas Frank is the fact that I think he might just be, I hate to say this, Durham, I think he just might be too nice.
Yeah, I think so. You agree with me, Steve? We need a killer instinct to be a manager.
Yeah.
You need to have a bit of the Fergie way about you. I mean, you and me grew up in the era of Alex Ferguson and managers like that, or Brian Clough even Brian Clough further back from him. And Brian Clough was some of the stories I've heard about Brian Clough would turn your hair gray.
Yeah, but that being said, if you're winning at Forest, if you're winning trophies with Forest, there might be something to it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Fergie. Fergie knew what every player was doing in his club. He knew if they were out in Manchester. There's a funny story. Teddy Sheringham and I forget the name of the other striker. It's not Cole. Dwight York went to play golf on a Thursday. And they won the game, and Fergie said, "Well done, Ted. You played well. Were you playing golf on Thursday?" "Yeah, I was, boss. A week's wages, fine." Players used to be scared of managers. Managers now are scared of players because of their agents, B, because the players got more power, and 3, clubs don't back managers like they used to. Football clubs now are run as entertainment businesses or as businesses. They're not run as football clubs. And this is the worry. This is why I always said Keith Birkinshaw was spot on. I know he didn't say it, and it was a headline in the newspaper, and it has sort of got stuck with Keith Birkinshaw. But the headline said there used to be a football club over there.
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham Hotspur is not Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It's now Tottenham Hotspur PLC /entertainment /music arena /boxing arena driving your go-karts and walk up a skywalk. In brackets, used to be a football club.
Used to be a football club.
About that bit. And I just want owners that want to put the football club first. I get it. Clubs have to make money. And I get it. Daniel Levy has made us financially sound for the next 50 years. Okay. And I'm grateful for him for that. Because I remember when our club, Tottenham, nearly went out of business under Ivan Scholar. And I remember the Alan Sugar having to come in and the Sugar years. So, Mr. Levy, I respect you for what you've done off the pitch. But what you've done on the pitch has been, you've set us back 50 years. Because we're a big club. We're not Tadaris to do anymore. We're Tadaris that will do. And that's not a case. We have our identity. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We're supposed to be different from every other club. There's no Hotspur in any football league around the world. We're the only Hotspur. And we're different. We're supposed to be the Mavericks. We're supposed to be a bit like the baseball team, the All-Stars. We're exciting. We're different. We're a bit like Muhammad Ali with the bit of the gab and showmanship. We players like Gen Hoddle and Gascoigne and Ginola and Robbie Keane. Today is to do. We're not that football club anymore. We're just every other football club, run of the mill, business first, football second, and we've lost our identity. We've lost who we are. We've lost our soul. We're a football club that's got a great body, a bodybuilder's body. Somebody stacked up 6-pack, muscle, Steve, in all the right places.
Just no heart.
No heart and no soul. We're sitting there like, ugh. That's
and we're also talking about a coach whose introductory press conference said that we're going to lose games. Whereas, most usually come in and say our goal is to win trophies. Our goal is to turn our home field into a fortress. Not, hey, we're going to lose games, guys. Let's just. It's like it's the things that you think but you do not say. Let's go ahead and hit the chat real quick, Dermot, because Wayne Bonner, he says it's time for Frank to go. Take a chance and make a move for Xavi Alonso. Show some damn ambition. And I will say, number one, I agree. Ambition is going to be something that Vinay and the crew are going to have to absolutely show. It's one thing to say it; it's another thing to do. But as far as Xabi Alonso is concerned, now here's the thing. On the one hand, I absolutely love what he did with Bayer Leverkusen when he was there, and he was winning German titles and all that good stuff. I understand exactly what it would look like at the high end. My only problem is Xabi Alonso probably doesn't take this job. Not now. Like maybe in 4 years when we've actually built up to a point where it might be worthwhile for him to take over because maybe one or two pieces are missing, and then we can actually really kind of go for the jugular. But as of right now, what this team needs is, I know you've used this term, is a reset, but it's also going to be a coach that knows how to rebuild the foundation because he's done it once. He's done it once already at a high level. And so essentially what I'm saying is Mauricio Pochettino. That's exactly what I'm saying. And by the way, here's what I will say is, like, Mauricio Pochettino he absolutely can make his intentions known. And from that standpoint, I think I have to double check, but there is, if he essentially tells the U.S. Soccer Federation, listen, I'm gone after the World Cup, he can actually have a contract in place before the end of the World Cup. So as soon as he's done, he makes the switch. That can happen, I believe.
Is there a chance that he might go before the World Cup? Is there a chance?
Zero chance.
Even if Tottenham offered the US football authorities a buckload of money?
No, because it leaves the US in a lurch right before the World Cup.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It really does. And he's also not that type of he's not the type of person that would actually do that, right?
No. And
he's not gonna he's gonna live up to his commitments. But that's the thing. It's like Xabi Alonso is very attractive, but I guess the question is number one, are Spurs willing to make that commitment to the because he's got concessions that he's probably going to want in place to come here. And so that's the question. Is like, number one, is he even on Spurs' radar? That's the first thing. Number two, are they willing to do that? And that's something that I don't think we really know.
For me, Steve, I think the only place where we'll see Xabi Alonso is Liverpool in my view, because I think Arne Slot's on the way out there. I think that's where it goes. For me, Xavi Hernandez, the ex-Barcelona manager, I wouldn't mind it. I would love Alonso at the club, but I can't see it happening. Xavi Hernandez, I think, would be a good choice. Pochettino, there's another choice. I think Pochettino is the only one that will unite the fan base. I think Pochettino is the only one that will be allowed time by the Tottenham fans to sort it out.
Wayne Bonner says Redknapp is too old, but Keane is too inexperienced. The other guy that would unite the fan base actually is Harry Redknapp as well too.
Yeah,
and he has made it known that he would come back if approached. He would come back. And I guess the question I have for you is, number one, is Harry, like, it's not like in a combination. It was like, so let's say Harry Redknapp agrees to come back. He'll be the head coach until the end of the season. Like, I guess the question I have for you is, number one, are you on board with the idea of Harry Redknapp, considering he hasn't done it in a while? But also, football has changed so dramatically between the last time that he coached Spurs to now, where everything is all data analytic driven. There's multiple different positions when it comes to analytics and directors of football and all this, that, and the other. Like, is that something that he would be able to work with in that structure? Would he be able to work within that?
I don't want to sound condescending to this. I really don't. I don't want to sound rude either. As much as I respect Harry Redknapp and think he's a great manager, and I'm so grateful for everything he's done with Tottenham, I think the football today is so different to the one he managed. I think he would struggle unless he surrounds him with the right people around them that know what they're doing. And his job is just to pick the team and pick the tactics.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he could do a job for 4 months. Like,
Yeah, I think he could.
I realize that he's 78, but the interesting thing is, the reality is number one, like, we would absolutely have to fall off the table. And we're talking like how much, like, we have like what, maybe 15 more league matches between now and the rest of the season. Okay. We would have to lose like 12 of 15. But then you would also have to factor in that West Ham is going to go on a run, or Burnley's going to go on a run, or Wolves are going to go on a run for us to actually be in that conversation for relegation. I just don't think relegation is going to be on the table. And is it out of the realm of, like, number one, I don't think Harry Redknapp tarnishes his legacy. I think that legacy is completely already solidified with his tenure at West Ham, his tenure with Spurs, his tenure at Pompey. Like, that to me is already established. Like, he's already got that in the bank. I don't think he's going to ruin it. But I mean, if he came in with the directive, okay, you're going to pick the players, you're going to pick the tactics, and your goal is to at least kick ourselves up the table till we get into the top 10. Do I actually think that Harry Redknapp could possibly do that? I do. I think he's capable.
I think he is capable, but I think, look, we need to, if we're going in for, he's good. That's what we need. Ange was that, wasn't he? Ange was a very good man manager, and that's what Ange's strength was. And he united that squad, the players together as to one family. You heard it a lot last year. We're all brothers. We're all family here. And I always knew who came in after Ange would find it very difficult, because it's going to be a total culture shock to the players. And I think Thomas Frank is trying to change too much, too soon, too quick. If he'd done it bit by bit by bit, gently by gently, and keep what was good about the way we were playing and improve to where we needed improvement, I think the players would have got more out of the players. But he's not. And I think a Harry Redknapp will bring back that Ange sort of togetherness. It's all about, I always said it, Ange had this as us against the world, but he should have brought the fans along with it as well. If he had brought the fans in this, we're in to get it together, I think the fans would have got behind that. But I think because he turned on the fans and the cupping of the year and standing up to them, I understand emotion does run high. Thomas Frank has done totally the opposite. Pedro Porro, you can't have an opinion if you're not a true Tottenham fan. Thomas Frank, having a go at the fans as well. I think he dug his own grave. Since he started having to go at the fans, he dug his own grave. And I think that was the end of it. Harry Redknapp wouldn't do that. Harry Redknapp would bring everyone together. A bit like Fergie did with United. Bring everyone together.
Yeah.
And we march as one. I think that's what we need. No
more Spurs, he says. I really wanted to support Frank. I thought the club would change, but Frank's out of depth. We need to change from top all the way to the bottom. And I will say this. One of the things that I think Harry Redknapp will do is, number one, unite the fan base. That's the first thing. But I also think it stops the protest dead in its tracks. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think it would actually appease the board, because one of the things that it absolutely needs right now is everybody moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so, and I get it. It's like, sometimes we have this tendency to look back into the past and be like, oh man, those were great days. But that being said, it's like, with the way that I look at our current situation is that it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse. And then there's going to be the cyclical pattern where, if, somebody else besides Pochettino, whatever the case may be, it's only going to get worse. And so from that standpoint, at least for, 4 months before we hit to the World Cup, if you have a guy who is universally respected by the fans, who has that credibility, who comes in and his first introductory press conferences, I'm here to unite the fan base and get results, everything stops dead in its tracks.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. I just want the club to come out and do this quickly and get it over and done with.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
we're going through what we went through last year with Ange. Every game, is he going? Is this the game where he's got sacked? Is this the game where he's going? And we've fallen into the same trap again. But I think the board have to come out and show some leadership. They have to show they got the guts, and they have to show they got the determination. For what I'm hearing, the only two people that are probably stopping it is Vinay and Lang. I think the majority of the Lewis family want them gone as well, but I think it's one or two on there. I think
Well,
Vinay
they're the owners. They're
yeah.
the owners.
So
you override
Vinay,
You override their
you do.
decisions.
Yeah, I think Vinay. You're right. They should. You're right. But have they got the guts to? And that is the problem. Have they got the bottle to do it? And I think Vinay is doing what he did at Arsenal, and we all know he stuck by Arteta far too long. Arsenal fans have got very toxic over there, and he's doing the same thing here at Tottenham. But I think he's backing the wrong manager, and I think the protests are going to continue. I think the protests as well is about our transfer market and investment and spending putting money into the club. So I think even if you change the manager and good time, we're getting good results. I think the protests still need to happen, Steve, because we need to keep this board under pressure. We need to keep reminding them we're here. We're not going away.
Ooh.
And the board then have to realize, okay, it's either if you're in the kitchen, you're either going to cook a great meal. If you can't do it, get out of the kitchen. So Enoch have to make a decision one way or the other, I think.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dermot. And you're actually okay. So that's interesting. You actually want to see the protest continue. Can I ask you what that looks like to you?
That means, there's another protest for the Man City game at home. There's just gone up now, changed for Tottenham. And it's about keeping pressure on the board. It's about keeping pressure on the board. It's about investment. It's about backing the manager. But it's also about bringing back Tottenham back to its roots. If you can't do it, then go sell the club. I'm big into my history. You know that. I'm big into my history. I want statues. We should be naming stands after previous managers. We need to get the concessions back for the older fans, for the younger fans as well. Freeze season ticket prices, freeze ticket prices. We paid the most expensive tickets in Europe to watch Dross that we're watching.
Right.
Appreciate the fans. Take more of an interest in the football inside of Tottenham, not the business side of Tottenham. And it's okay saying it in the football program, we're going to build on the success of the team of last year. Thomas Frank said that in his first press conference. I'm going to build on the shoulders of Ange Postecoglou. At this present time, Thomas Frank's building off the backside of Ange Postecoglou. That's where he's building from.
He's building off the shoulders of Christian Gross and building off the shoulders of Nuno. So for me, I actually support that theory as well too. Like, until this board understands that our expectation level is not wrong. It's not wrong for us to have high expectations for a club that supposedly is a big club. I'm for that, but one of the things that kind of strikes me odd is the fact that, you're going to show up pregame to protest and then still go into the game and still pay concessions and still pay for parking and merchandise and the price for the ticket as well too. And me personally, it's like that to me, that is, I think it negates the entire purpose of a protest, Irma, because you're still giving them your money, right? The protest is not giving them your money; it's not giving them your money. And when they walk out against Man City, there's less than 2,000 fans in the stand. It's an empty stadium, and those people are actually protesting outside the stadium. You know what I mean? And you have 60,000 outside on the Tottenham High Road. That sends a direct message. That sends an absolute direct message, and it doesn't send the message that you're not behind the players or you're not behind your club. It's just, we're not going to accept this any longer. We're not going to accept a coach that that clearly is in over his head. we're not going to accept these, these results, and we're not going to accept the fact that, you're trying to turn us into Brentford.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, that's me personally. That would send the biggest message.
It would. It's just, would the fans do it? And that's the thing. And I get it. I get when people say you're going to protest spot, you're going in, you've got season tickets. I understand that. I think for me, I think Change for Tottenham are trying to do it in the right way. I do think that, and I do think they're trying to involve everyone. Now, going out, I fully would support fans leaving at halftime and not coming back in second half. I truly would support that. I was going over to Tottenham last year to the Palace game, and it's my one game a year I'll go over to, or 2 games a year. I'll try to go to 2 games a year a season if I can. And I got in touch with Change for Tottenham, said, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I support your protest, but I'm not walking out because I paid too much money on my trip over. And they got back to me and they said, no, we fully understand. You do, that is fine. You sit there. We're not doing it anyway. And then it was cancelled. And I think because of the momentum we built, I think it was the game before the semi-final against Bodo. And we were in the middle of, could we reach a European final? I just want Change for Tottenham to keep building on the momentum they're built on. They're not the same size as the Manchester United protests. They're massive. But that's their aim. That's where they want to get to. But even Man United, when they protest, not all the fans leave the stadium. There's thousands and thousands, protest. A good couple of thousand stay outside Old Trafford. But the Man United owners ain't taking a blind bit of notice.
Right.
I think you're right. I think people have to walk out the stadium, leave it empty. Tuesday's going to be interesting. Tuesday's going to be very interesting. Do Tottenham fans stay away? A, because of Thomas Frank, B, because of the owners, or C, because of the players? If we see a half-empty Tottenham Hotspur, that would send a message, we're not coming back till this manager's gone.
Yeah. And, the difference between Spurs and Manchester United is they're not afraid to sack a Ruben Amorim, knowing that they still owe him a lot of money. Because it's just you're not living up to the expectations of what the club expectations are, and it just is what it is. And that's something that there should be no evaluation. There should be no we're going to have a committee to explore whether or not this is going to work or not. No. It's either it works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, get rid of him.
Yeah.
And if that means you got to pay him, you got to pay him what he owes under his contract. You write him a check. And you move on to the interim, because you know what? What's funny about it is Michael Carrick comes in, and within less than a week, they look completely different. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess those players weren't rubbish. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I still firmly believe that there is a team within this club that actually can go out there and play daring football if they're actually lined up. If they're lined up and prepared to do that. And so that's the thing. It's like, I don't have that fear of potentially making the switch, because you know what? It just is what it is. Sometimes you have to chalk it up and just say, you know what? It didn't work. And that's okay. That's okay. And it's probably going to be the next guy who's probably going to end the cycle. You know what I mean? So but that's the thing. It's like, instead of having this exploratory search where you have a committee and you go through 30 points of what we're looking. No. It's like, hey, wait a second. Does he have Champions League experience? Yes. Does he have experience in coaching the highest levels? Okay, good. Let's go. And does he play attacking football? Yeah. Let's go. You know what I mean? It is what. So let's see. Let's go with David Clark real quick. Says the only time Spurs fortune will turn for the better is when Joe Lewis's daughter has had a gut full of running this club. It will be sooner than we think. I like David Clark. I do. I'm a big David Clark guy.
I do.
All right. So before we go, Derma, because we are coming up to the end, I got a 2-part question for you. Number 1 is Thomas Frank a dead man walking? And number 2, Is there a name that would work for an interim manager? Because they just brought in Justin Heitzka, or the new guy from Ajax. I guess that's the question. Is there a suitable name that you like, or just in general, are you okay with the idea of a caretaker? It's a two-part question.
First one is Thomas Frank, a dead man. Walking. Hell yeah, he is. He is a dead man walking. He's like one of the zombies out of that new 24. He's at that new zombie film, Walking Dead. He's like one of them walking up the street. That's Thomas Frank. For the other one, do you know what? Yes, I think so, Steve. I don't know who would be good as an interim manager. I think the Ajax man they brought in, I think that they brought him for a reason. He wasn't brought in. Yeah, he's brought in to help Thomas Frank, but I think he was also brought in that if they went to an interim, that he could steady the ship while they got another manager. I would prefer them to sack Thomas Frank and have the other manager walk in straight away.
Yeah.
But with 4 months left of the season, I think they'll do interim until the end of the season. But I would say it'd be him because they brought him in for a reason. They didn't just bring him in to be Thomas Frank's assistant. I think he's not a Thomas Frank. He's a club signing, not a Thomas Frank signing, if you know what I mean. If you can understand what I'm trying to get at.
I know exactly what you're saying. To answer this question, it's like, 100% he's a dead man walking. It's like that yesterday was a viable offense.
It was.
And again, it's no disrespect to West Ham, but they are in that situation because of piss poor management, and the fact that it just sometimes this happens in football where you're in a downward swing. And when you look at the fact that they got absolutely shelled against Wolves, and they've been conceding goals, and all of a sudden this is their Champions League final against us at the stadium. And this is how we came out playing again after seeing it against Aston Villa, seeing it against Sunderland, seeing it against Chelsea, Arsenal. We have seen it time and time again that we are just not prepared. And it happens against a team like West Ham. And what's funny is everybody kept saying that, it's one thing to lose the away fans, but as soon as your home fans turn on you, well, guess what? They turned on them in a big way. And when your fans are singing, you're going to get sacked in the morning. That's all she wrote. So from that standpoint, I would think you and I both agree that he's a dead man walking. As far as a caretaker, who cares? Like, name one. What's funny, it's like Ryan Mason's available, but you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of fans are at that point where it's like, okay, cool. So you brought in this coach. And I read somewhere that he was supposed to be like brought in to I guess shore up the attacking process. But that being said, it's like, okay, cool. There it is. There is your caretaker until either A, you appoint another caretaker that you trust a little bit more, or B, he's just going to be there for the rest of the season, understanding that relegation probably not going to be on the table, because you'd figure that there's still maybe 4 wins for the rest of the way. And that probably should keep us. That should probably keep us above the relegation, out of the relegation scrap, or he kicks us up the table a little bit. You know what I mean? So from that standpoint, to me, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's Harry Redknapp. It's Harry Redknapp. If it's this new assistant, it's that new assistant. It is. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm with David Clark here. It's like I would actually give Harry Redknapp a call and just say, hey, listen, here's your marching orders. We are going to still try to bring you in more talent throughout this window. We got irons in the fire with 2 wingers. You're going to get Kulusevski back. Solanke's already back. So between now and the rest of the season, let's see if we can get into the top 10, and then we're going to turn it over into the summer to our next full time.
Like Celtic's done with Martin O'Neill.
Yeah,
basic same thing.
Yep, same thing.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, Steve. Totally agree.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. We are at the hour and 10 mark, Derma. What's going on? What's going to happen this week on THFC Tottenham till we die?
I'm going to hibernate. That's
Okay.
I'm like, no, I'm not. I am not. I'm going to hibernate. Yeah, we've got the watch along Wednesday. We've got the build up on Tuesday. Predicted lineup coming out after the whistle, straight after the game as well. Tomorrow, I'm not on tomorrow. I'm having a day off tomorrow. I've got a family issue to sort out, so I'm going to sort that out tomorrow. But of course, any breaking news on Thomas Frank, we'll give it all transfers. We'll give it to you first and fastest, as we always do. And then this week, just really building up. Talking about then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the Dortmund game. Thursday, me and Dave's podcast is back. Irish Lads Talk Spurs at 1. And then we're all building up to the Burnley game next Saturday as well. So, yeah, a lot going up this week. And, yeah, any transfers or Thomas Frank issue, we'll bring to you first and fastest, as we always do. But thanks for having me on there, Dave. I really
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad that you were willing to come on today. I know you're a busy dude. By the way, just a quick reminder to hit the like and subscribe buttons and also hit the notification bell, because coming up here on Stateside Footy, and of course every single Monday night, we have USMNT Yanks Abroad as we recap the weekend that was for U.S. men's national team pool players that apply their trade in Europe. And then, of course, I will be coming back with, I guess you can say, my post-game thoughts off the back of the Champions League against Dortmund. And then, of course, setting the stage for this upcoming weekend, because I believe it's Burnley. Is it Burnley or is it?
It is.
Or is it?
No, it's Burnley this weekend.
Okay, yeah. So then it's Burnley. I think it's Burnley. Anyway, so we're gonna, and then we will have that stage set for this upcoming weekend. Just a quick reminder that I am available all across platforms, on X at Stateside Footy, on TikTok at Stateside Footy as well too, and I'm also available on Instagram as well too. So there's a multitude of platforms where I will definitely talk ball with you as well too, and I know Derma's on X as well too at THFC_1882. So yeah, definitely head on over to Derma's channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, because I think you're on a march to.
Yeah, we're 3K. We're on the march. We'd like to get to 3K before March. That's my aim. We've had a bit of a growth at the end of last season and the start of this year. So I'm really appreciated. So yeah, get over it. But do it here first. Let's get Steve to 500 as quickly as we can. Let's get him monetized. Let's get him that he can turn doing this channel part-time into full-time. Let's make his dream a reality.
That would be lovely. Oh, by the way, David Clark is reminding me that the Spurs ladies won today. So congratulations to the women's team. And apparently they signed a superstar. So there you go. So at least there is ambition somewhere in the Spurs world.
Yeah, not showing it to the men's side, but yeah, big up to the ladies as well. Fair play to them. I tell you, they've got a good squad building over there, Steve. I tell you that now. They've got a good little squad building up over there.
I don't know, man. I've tried to watch women's football. I really have. And this is not something that it has nothing to do with men's versus women's, anything like that. I tried. And to me, it's just, I don't know, man. I can't get into it. It's just, it is what it is. But that being said, congratulations to the Spurs women. And hopefully they win the Women's Super League. I think that's what it is, the WSL. All right. Again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. And by the way, and I'm sure this is going to be just like it is on Derma's channel, if there is news today regarding Thomas Frank, I will be back live, or I just might just jump on Derma's channel to have that discussion. So pay attention, because this thing is absolutely fluid, and hopefully it gets announced today. So you guys enjoy your Sunday. I hope you guys have had a great weekend, but more importantly, I hope you have a great start to your work week coming up. And hopefully it is as stress-free as possible. Take care, guys.
Come on.